drum roll started off a little wonky, a little soft. Welcome to the Midday Show, first Friday here in Waynesford, Pennsylvania.
It's first Friday.
I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We have I find this interesting, and I sent it to you, and I think you did too. Movie ratings are being shifted for The Little Mermaid. We're going to talk about that, dive into it, all the different aspects. I have a very short story about a military mishap that I actually think you'll find interesting about artificial intelligence that now the U.S. military is backing out on. So they claimed it, and now they're saying they didn't. I want to know if you think they're telling the truth or not, if it's actually true or not. I think you'll find it very, very interesting. NBA Finals, what did you think last night?
Blow up.
A big shout out. I saw Dylan Rockoff at the Bar and Market on Thursday night last week. Really, really good. Did about 2.5 hours. It was great. Good to see him.
They played Clyde Frogman played a benefit.
Did you go at all?
I did not.
Okay.
I was going to.
Yeah.
But it was kind of one of those, I'm old, I'm lazy.
And they're just packed. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Like, you have to kind of be ready to muscle up a little bit if you're going to go see Clyde Frogman.
So here, I got to tell you this story. It's your contact lens wearer.
Yeah.
For those of us. I got the glasses on today because they're just the right contact just wasn't doing it.
Okay.
I actually got in the car. I drove down the street, and it's whatever, 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm just not doing this.
Right.
So I drove home and I took it out. And you know those times where you take your contact out and there's still something wrong.
Sure.
Because you've abrased it or whatever.
Yeah.
So then I was like, great. And every time you blink, something's wrong. It is amazing how quickly the eye heals.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, it doesn't last for days.
Right.
But anyway, be that as it may. So I got the glasses on. I think one of the universal truths of life is don't rub your eyes.
Okay.
Like but it's driving me nuts. So I just sat here and I kept doing this. And all of a sudden, I don't know if there was something loose. I don't know. One time I rubbed it, I pulled it away, and I was like, oh, that's it. And now I'm healed. And I don't wear my contacts now. So all the great wives' tale of life, don't ever rub your eyes.
Yeah, they were lying.
There was one time I should have rubbed my eyes. It was today, and it worked. And I don't know why.
But now, do you mind wearing your glasses? It doesn't bother me.
No, the only time I mind is today driving.
Okay.
Could be because it's hard to wear sunglasses over.
No, that's true. You need a pair of cocoons, is what they call them.
Oh, those.
Yeah, you put the cocoons over your glasses.
Yeah, I don't have those. So yes, I'm fine. Here in the office and walking around, it's just when you want to have sunglasses on because you're driving, then it becomes annoying.
Yeah,
but you know how that goes.
No, it makes it tough. Do you want to hear the military story real quick, or should we just dive right into the?
If we dive into Little Mermaid, we're going to be there for a long time because there's so many branches of that story. So give me your funny little military.
So this is I don't even know if it's funny. So essentially, what happened? The headline right now: Air Force colonel backtracks over his warning about how artificial intelligence went rogue and killed its human operators. So essentially, what happened was an Air Force official story about an AI going rogue during a simulation they're claiming now never happened. This is the U.S. Air Force. It killed the operator because that person was keeping it from accomplishing its objective, the official had said. The next day, the official is now saying he misspoke, and the Air Force has clarified that it was a hypothetical situation, not something that actually occurred. So essentially, this is what happened. They are experimenting with artificial intelligence. They told a program that it gets a point for essentially every single base that it destroys. So these are bases that are
war games.
Air defense. Yeah, pretty much. It's an air defense system, right? So it's supposed to locate air defenses, destroy air defenses. So it gets a point for each one because that's how AI works.
That's how Matthew Broderick's program.
That's correct. So essentially what happened was the first time that the operator told it not to destroy the defense system, the AI then tried to kill the operator. So basically found the location of the operator telling it not to, and it wanted to destroy the operator so then it could go collect the point that it knows is sitting there. Yes. So then they turned off the program. They tried to readjust the artificial intelligence so that, fix the code a little bit, tell it, you can't kill the operator is what it did. Don't you know the next time they ran the program, it tried to destroy the communication tower that the operator was using, so that then it couldn't get the communication from the operator to not destroy. So the artificial intelligence stuff is going to
It's
be
like a weed. It just kept going.
It did. It's going to be really, really, I mean, I'm not saying anything we all don't know. I just think this is the point where people are kind of like, oh, it's fine, like everything else. I'm pro AI. I think we need to go for it. I think we need to use it. It's here. We need to figure it out and do some of this stuff. Like the people that are like, oh, the military, I would rather the military be trying to figure out how to solve this stuff, like using it, than just saying we shouldn't touch it, because other places are going to be trying to do it. Absolutely. And they're going to be trying to figure it out. So, but isn't that, I mean, you read stories and novels and video games and movies and you see all these things, but it is like here. It is actually happening. That is straight out of, like you said, a War Games movie.
I love too, and this has nothing to do with just the whole I misspoke. Because there are times we misspoke, or we should have worded it differently, or something like that. But I just think of the whole what happens in real life when people get in a fight with their significant other, and they're like, "I hate you," "No, I hate you," and the next day you don't wake up and say, "I misspoke."
Sure, right, yes.
I don't really, it's just.
Yes.
And in the moment, I don't know, maybe you didn't misspeak. Maybe you did hate the person for that moment. But it's just so funny. It just sounds so hoity-toity, I misspoke.
You'll get a kick out of this. You
said something stupid. Yeah. That's what you did.
Yes, you did. You'll get a kick out of this. So there are videos going around now on YouTube and TikTok of people who are getting in fights with their significant other, their boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, whoever it may be. And they're actually using ChatGPT to have the argument for them. So they are typing in the other person's response, and then they are saying whatever ChatGPT tells them to say. And here's the beauty of it. You can let ChatGPT know if you want to keep fighting, if you're ready to resolve it. You can basically tell it what you're trying to do. And so people are posting videos of themselves continuing these arguments with their significant other and just having it out on ChatGPT.
That is awesome. See, now that's AI used perfectly.
That's what it was meant for.
That was what it was meant for, because these people that are just, I wonder how many, now that people have heard that,
yeah,
I wonder how many people get frustrated when they're arguing with their significant other, and their significant other is just, I don't even know if I want to say smarter, because there's so many different aspects of intelligence, but just have a better grasp of language.
Mm-hmm.
And people that have trouble quickly saying what they think, and that some people just need more time to process. It's like a math problem. Some people can do it in 30 seconds. Some people can do it in 5 minutes. They still get the same answer. But in an argument, the quick one is better.
I've told you before, I think in some of my previous relationships, our biggest issue was that I was willing to just keep fighting. Our biggest problem was when we got in an argument, I would have sat there and talked about it for 30, 60 minutes. I would have just kept breaking it down and trying to keep going deeper. And that's not great for relationships, in case you were wondering.
When you and I have a disagreement, and you're clearly wrong, there's times you won't let it go. I've noticed.
That's what it is. But I would argue that's almost a bigger deterrent. The willingness to argue sometimes is worse than just the comprehension.
No, I agree.
If you're in a relationship where one person is willing to fight for 60 minutes and you are not, I mean, that person becomes unbearable.
Well, and that's you, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's 100%.
One of the things I think is a skill that not enough people have is the ability to realize when the argument has reached an impasse. And there's nothing, at least in the moment, there's nothing that's going to be said that's going to make any progress.
Did you just describe the Midday Show in 2 sentences?
No, I think I think we get it.
I think there's some topics
There's
where
some
we
times
could.
where you're wrong and you won't drop it. I just covered that.
There's
No,
some topics where we could have had it be 20 minutes and we went 60 because neither of us
well, there's no doubt about that.
were willing to admit the impact.
Well, I think it's because we have so much knowledge to share.
Is that what it is?
Because of that, we're just making sure the microphones work. So Jeff's sitting over there. Usually I'm across from him. That's why I keep turning.
That's fine.
Anyway.
Your side profile might be better anyway.
Think?
It might be. I don't know. I've never asked somebody. So here's what's happening. For those who don't know, The Little Mermaid came out. Various reviews, high, low, in between. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, and I believe there was one other one. These are all movie rating platforms. They have released a statement saying that they are going to use a weighted scale for The Little Mermaid's overall score. I find this fascinating for a lot of different reasons. You and I touched on some of them. Part of it is why now? Why this movie? Movie bombing is nothing new. It's been done to other movies in the past, good and bad. There's been movies, I'm sure, that were bumped up because of movie bombing and vice versa. For them to do it now is very, very interesting. You have the whole Disney thing in play, which is also fascinating. You had the dispute over Ariel and who was playing the character, which I'm sure is playing into this conversation a lot of different ways. The most generic one for me is I just don't know it sounds corny to say what's real anymore. I just, like, to me, online movie ratings were one of maybe the last purest form of voting.
Once you saw that Billboard magazine, you just don't believe in anything.
I thought when you went onto IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, like, these were the scores. And listen, like, sure, there's always going to be people that rate a 1 star instead of 4 stars, right? Like, there's very little middle ground for some people when they see a movie. It's either the worst thing they've ever seen or the best thing they've ever seen. But to me, like, that always reflected in the score. It balanced itself out. It met somewhere in the middle, and you could kind of get a feel for it. I don't know. This is very, very unusual. I don't love it. Let's put it that way.
When you said, part of the question is why now, why this movie? I think that's the entire question.
Okay.
Like, why now, why this movie? And we, I don't want to say the conspiracy theorists, but the business aspects of it. You go to the angle of that Disney has so much money, and the people behind it, are they trying are they paying people to give them better ratings because they know in the long run it's a different form of advertising. Rotten Tomatoes is a different form of advertising, because that's the one I use. I check Rotten Tomatoes all the time when I'm looking at the movie. It reminded me, when you were talking, it reminded me a little bit of the movie The Big Short.
Okay.
When you've seen The Big Short.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
When the guy was like, these bonds are failing, because it was all based on the ratings of the bonds.
Right.
And the ratings were given by some magazine who was getting advertising dollars from it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they're bombing. Why are you still giving them a good rating? And the guy's basically like, well, they're paying me advertising.
They'll go somewhere else if
I don't give them, yeah. So he's like, well, you're not giving an honest description of the rating. They're paying for it.
Yes.
And that's what and we're not saying Disney did that, but it is a possibility.
This is the other, and you and I didn't mention this when we were talking about it earlier. For me, this rating is so subjective. Like, even like with the bond rating, there's a number, right? Like, a lot of times with these ratings, there's a number, and you can kind of movie viewing, and whether or not the audience or the person enjoys it is so subjective that to act as if the number is wrong makes no sense to me. How can someone, like the housing thing, I get. Someone could say, here's the number, this is where the housing market's at, this is where the bonds are at, and how could the rating possibly be higher or lower than it was before? This is unique in the sense of, like, how can somebody subjectively say they know that the Little Mermaid's rating is too low? That I can't wrap my head around.
No, I get it. Unless for some reason they think that is there a competitor that could be in there intentionally trying to tank it? Is that even possible? They
said, so the one article that I read on Yahoo said that there was an abnormally large amount of 1-star reviews. However, there were also 10-star reviews. So essentially, like, that middle ground. And by the way, The Little Mermaid's rating was not like 1, 2, 3. It was just below
almost
5.
five.
It was a 4.7. It was almost middle road. I don't know. I don't like this.
Well,
it bothers me. Why does it bother me so much?
Because it should. It's like, this is the rating, and no, we don't like the rating, so now we're going to artificially make it higher.
I said
For whatever reason, it just seems so artificial.
Yes, I said to you, the other part too is, it's not just that it's this movie. Like, they chose this as the movie, because that was how I phrased the question. And I should have done a better job phrasing it, because it's really like, why is it only when a movie is too low? Like, if The Little Mermaid was a 9.8, would somebody have come out and said, like,
it's more like a 7.5.
we don't think this movie's actually, like, we can't put this next to Shawshank. We got to do something about this. And they would have came out and weighted it lower. I don't think they ever would have done that.
No,
so
that's fair. Well, I think one of the big topics that we have to get to, if we're going to do this honestly, is the fact that Ariel's black.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the two sides of it are going to be that there's a racial quality that people didn't even that there are people who said, Ariel can't be black because this is the Ariel I know. She's got red hair and so there's the element of people who have discredited the movie and never even seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to take that a step further, there could be a racial connotation to that, or there may not be a racial connotation to that. And like an example that I could give is like, if you remake, because I know Ariel is obviously, the mermaid is a fictional made-up character, and we've seen historically that we can have fictional. Hamilton is a perfect example. They had black guys playing white guys all over the place, and it worked wonderfully. But so they'd say if black guys can play white guys who were real historical, living, breathing historical figures, then why can't we have a black girl play the Little Mermaid? And that is a very fair argument. On the other side of it, the Little Mermaid is a character that has been created, like Mickey Mouse or whatever, and or just like real life TV characters or movie characters. And if you came to me, you're too young for Different Strokes, but my generation know Different Strokes. Right. If someone came to me and said, we're going to remake Different Strokes and Arnold Jackson is white, I would say Arnold Jackson can't be white. It was Gary Coleman and he's black, and it doesn't work with the story. So, and it's not from a racial element, because I'm a white guy, and saying, but this character that is ingrained in my brain, and I would say you can't, there's a level of you just can't change it, and I buy into it anymore. Okay. So, I don't think that is necessarily, it's almost like going to see a rock band, and like, it's not the same singer. Mm-hmm. And they're like, but the guy sounds the same, he kind of looks the same, the words are the same, the notes are the same. I get all that, but that's not the right person. Okay. And I could see how you could make that argument I could see how you could make the argument each way.
So many things that I want to touch on there. So the first one, you had brought up Hamilton. Like, Hamilton would be an example. Like, I just pulled up their IMDb. Hamilton is an 8.3 out of 10. Will they apply the same weighting scale to Hamilton if they feel that the reason Little Mermaid's scale is lower is because a black actress played a character that people relate to being white-haired, right, or I'm sorry, white, red-haired, right, in the movie? So are you going to apply this then to every other movie that the character is not played? Like, I just think it doesn't, in a tunnel vision of the movie, if that is your opinion or that's your stance on it, that's fine. But to only have that tunnel vision for this movie, and we're only going to handle it for this movie, and then to not apply it to other things, like, if that was the case, then they should apply the same weighted score to Hamilton, but they didn't do that because Hamilton was good and Hamilton got an 8.3 out of 10. Like, what I guess what I'm saying is,
yeah. Are you saying Hamilton could have even been better?
Well, listen, to me, Hamilton's a 10 out of 10.
I was going to say,
what I'm saying,
it's
but that's
nationwide response has only been lukewarm.
But that's my subjective opinion is that Hamilton is 10 out of 10. What I'm saying is, I would never expect them to weight the score of Hamilton because it got an 8.3 or a 2.3. Like, I'm not expecting them to take care. I'm not expecting a movie rating system to handle the diversity of the country and how people feel about different races playing different characters. I don't think that's IMDb's job. I don't think it's Rotten Tomatoes' job. I don't think it's Letterboxd's job. Their job is to take the ratings of people that are voting and given and to rate them so people can go in and see. Now, you and I might look, if Hamilton came up and it was like a 5, you and I might look at each other and be like, boy, there might be some like real systemic stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Okay. But the reality of it is if you go through and you look at the overall reviews of The Little Mermaid, there are places all across the country that have said, like, this is not a 4-star or 5-star movie. Like, this is a fine Disney remake. It's not great. It's not bad. It's right in the middle of the road. And most IMDb voters decided it was somewhere in the middle of the road.
No, I agree with that. This would be, I'm sure the eggheads for these companies have done this research. I mean, you and I, we've had discussions on this of movies that were rated poorly, that or middle of the road, whether it be Rotten Tomatoes, right? And we don't understand because we loved it.
Right.
And I can't imagine that understanding what The Little Mermaid is, understanding what Disney is, and I can't imagine that there are people that wanted to go see The Little Mermaid that then saw a mediocre score and said, I'm not going. Like, the people who were dying for this movie to come out went to see it. And then once we get beyond that, especially if you're a fan of a certain genre, don't you think that the word of mouth of the people that went, because there's enough people that are like, screw the ratings, I'm going. I'll be my own rating system. Mm-hmm. And then, we asked someone, and you're like, hey, you saw Air before I did. Mm-hmm. And I'd heard and then I watched it myself. That there's just a lot of that the people would come back and say, no, I thought it was great. And then I'm wondering why whoever the powers that be were obviously bothered by this and scared of this. And I'm not sure which of those powers.
That's what I was
it
going to
Rotten
say.
Tomatoes or was it Disney?
Was it the rating platforms and they have an agenda,
right?
And they don't like the fact that The Little Mermaid was so low? Is it Disney coming in with a lot of money saying like, hey, like,
help, yeah.
Like, this is not fair. Look at all these 1 stars. Clearly something's going on here. And them kind of like pushing their way above the middle of the rating, essentially. I don't know which is which, but I agree with you. Something took place. I used one last example I would like to give to you too. I just think you can find so many examples of movies, even like, and I haven't been around very long. If you just look at like my 20, 25 years.
You're not as young as you used to be.
When it comes to like movie viewing though, I really am. I mean, when it comes to like true actual movie viewing, I probably have like a solid 20, 25 years in. Because if anything you watch before like the age of 16 shouldn't really count. If you watch something you were 14 and you rewatch it at 32, that's 2 different people watching that movie. Do you disagree?
No, I totally agree.
So in my 20 years, I can, like, just sitting here with you, I came up with a bunch of different examples. Like, I can't imagine that The Passion of the Christ with Mel Gibson, you can't tell me that movie is not rated higher because of its religious affiliation. You can't tell me how many, like, devout Christians.
We made a Christian movie, so we're rating it 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. And
that's fair.
Fair. Over all these years, nobody stepped in to say, out of the fairness of the ratings, and because we want these to be as accurate as possible, we have to weight this movie's rating in order to make it an actual depiction of what how good the movie actually was. So it's just the irony of right now, this movie and why it's happening. I think there's 3 or 4 different things, and we may never know which. Was it Disney bullying? Was it somebody, one of the ratings companies saying like, we want this movie to rate higher because there was a black actress playing Ariel? Like, something happened here, and somebody decided that they couldn't just let it be.
The fact that her name's Halle Bailey is great, by the way.
Yeah, does it throw you off? It throws me off every time.
But it's awesome.
No, it's
if you're the
great.
Parents and her name's Bailey.
Yeah.
And you're just like Halle Bailey.
I get it wrong every single time. You're frozen, aren't you?
I'm off.
What'd you do? Did you break something?
I didn't do anything.
Try again. Try to get in there. They can still hear you.
Try again. You can hear me? Oh, you can hear me through yours.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. Do you have anything else that you want to say about it? It's okay if you don't.
No, because I can't get in.
They So there is one notable factor is that reviewers across multiple countries and continents panned the film, possibly implying that this was not entirely caused by one centralized campaign. There have been thousands of collective users from the UK, Brazil, Canada, and Mexico who have also given the movie a very low score. So this idea that it's some group in the United States or it's some company in India where people are just like being paid to like continually give it lower ratings, they're saying that is most likely not the case.
I got a security defense thing from Microsoft. Can you see that? Should I click cancel or should I click scan?
Oh, you can click cancel. Get out of that.
Okay.
Don't do any of that. What do you NBA Finals? There's some trending stuff. Joe Biden fell.
Do I go deny or do I go allow?
Deny. You don't want any of this stuff. Do you want to talk about Joe Biden falling? Do you want to talk about the Nuggets gonna sweep the Heat? Is there anything off the top of your head?
Yeah, it won't let me go away.
That's okay. You can just talk.
I'm having problems. Task manager, I can't get it to go.
Here, come over here. Come sit over here.
Yeah, let's do this. How about I bring my computer to you and you fix it?
How about you just come sit with me? We'll finish the show in 5-10 minutes and then we'll move on with our day.
Well, because I'm afraid my computer's being attacked as we speak.
It's not. The AI is attacking it. Is that what's happening?
If not, it hurt us. Now I need a chair.
Right there. Just throw that stuff off. I'm going to be you here for the end of the show. Oh, look at that. Your kids would be impressed.
Would they? I doubt that.
I think your kids would be impressed. You don't think so?
My kids should be impressed on the daily. They're just not. All right.
You just got smarter, and all you did was sit under my name. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened.
Ooh, that is very clever. You feel this is the best you've ever looked.
The best I've ever looked. I gave you some Joe Biden falling, big deal.
I heard about it, but I didn't see it. But I mean, it just
some of the
every
memes.
time I hear the name Joe Biden, my first thought is there's no way he can run again. And then we have this conversation, and intelligent people, when I say that, they're like, "Well, who are the Democrats going to run?" And that's where my answers stop because I have no idea. But every time I think about
Kennedy,
this,
you should run Kennedy.
Well, no, there has to be another one out there, right?
There is, Robert. I believe it's RFK. He's going for it. He's been doing interviews. He was on the All In podcast.
He was shot in the 60s.
He was, that, right? Yes. I do know that. He's like going for it. He's like got a full campaign going. You know what else is crazy too? A lot of like senators.
I can't tell whether you're kidding. Are they making a joke about?
I am dead serious.
Does he have a kid?
Yes.
Oh, well, you said RFK. Well, there's RFK Jr.
So
okay.
And a lot of like centered conservatives are like, they are, especially centered conservatives who do not like Trump. They're kind of all in on I believe it's RFK. I'm pretty sure it's RFK.
Well, you know, it's funny now that you mentioned Bobby Kennedy, because when I running for county commissioner, described that I'm socially liberal, but I'm fiscally moderate. And the people who know this stuff, they're like, oh, you're a Kennedy Democrat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
They're like, yes, you're a Kennedy Democrat.
So right there, Robert Kennedy Jr.
I did not know he existed until 45 seconds.
So he is going for it. He's obviously he's old, but in this race he's young.
Well, yeah, he's a spring chicken.
His biggest thing that he's going to have to conquer, his voice. He has some voice issues. It's very rough. It's very weak. So it sounds stressful when he's talking. But his platform and his things appeals to both Republicans and Democrats. It's very interesting.
What's he do?
It's a great question. I don't know.
Is he a politician now?
Yes.
Okay.
He's been a politician for a while.
Okay. So he is a politician. He's up
Yes.
north. I assume he's in Massachusetts because that's where they all were.
Yeah. He was an environmental lawyer. Now he's a writer. He was really big he was actually one of the only Democrats that was really big on whether or not the vaccines were ready, whether or not the mask worked. Like he was kind of on board of like challenging the health system instead of like letting them off the hook a little bit. I'm telling you, he has, I'm not saying as of right now, I don't think I would vote for him, but he has a lot of platform things that would actually bring both parties together more so than split them apart. He appeals to the center of both sides better than the other candidates.
And that makes sense. Right now, the Democrats need someone that appeals to the Democrats.
Yeah.
And there's no more Democratic name in American history than Kennedy.
That's true too. That's
at least
very, very
like
true.
right away, he's in the bloodline. He makes your ears perk up.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only other one would be Obama. If Michelle Obama ran or somebody of like that. But still, in the history, Kennedy outranks because there was more of them and they've been around.
Do you think? Because I said this to my friend one day, like I think we're at a weird point right now where I think a Democrat can be too Democrat for the 2024 election. Like when you said Michelle Obama, I almost think she's too Democrat to win.
You mean like Bernie Sanders?
Yes.
Oh, I think absolutely. I think Bernie Sanders is a brilliant guy. I think Bernie Sanders has
he got robbed. I mean, he should have had the Democratic nomination instead of Hillary.
I don't know if you're kidding or not.
I'm kidding in the sense of like, I'm not saying it was rigged, but I am not kidding in the sense of like, he should have had the Democratic support based off of the primaries.
Okay.
And the powers that be were like, nah, like you are not going to be and they went with Hillary. That's a thing.
But I think in again, looking at it, he's a smart guy who has lots of good ideas, but he's too extreme to get anything done.
Especially now. Like
yeah.
You can't, and I'm not implying Michelle Obama is extreme. I don't mean that at all.
But I get your point.
There is like this weird, I think the Republicans have been in that boat since Trump won in 2016, where it's like, well, we saw it with the primaries just in 2022. Like if you are too Republican, like it really, if you're too MAGA, like, it's not going to work out for you. I actually think the Democrats are like tiptoeing towards that, where it's almost like if you are too like Democrat, it's not going to work out.
Well, I think, and when you think about primaries and when you the really, it's like primaries in elections are like, preseason in sports. Mm-hmm. Who's watching a preseason game? The diehards. Mm-hmm. So the diehards who think that, who's going to the blue-white game? Well, other than people who just want to get drunk. Like the Penn State diehard.
Sure.
So who's going to, and there aren't the diehards on each side who are kind of like middle of the road. They are in there, they bleed blue or they bleed red. And so there's this issue we have in America right now that you have to get through your party's nomination that you need to cater to the extremes. But then once you're that person that got through because you're extreme enough, now you can't govern, because most of the people that you're trying to govern are more middle of the road and they're not extreme.
Now, the weird part is in 2016, I think that was Bernie's chance, and the Democrats were like, no, like, we're not. Like,
but even now, yes, when we look back.
When I say the Democrats, I don't mean the electorate. I mean like the power Democrats.
Yes.
We're like, we're not doing
that. And now you look back as where we've gotten, and you're like, well, Bernie was extreme, but maybe he wasn't as extreme as we thought, because we see where the world has gone. But at the time, he was just way too far left.
So my friends that are conservative fiscally found him to be an extremist. Like fiscally, like
correct.
Bernie Sanders was maybe the most extreme candidate the Democrats could have nominated. But it's funny, like a lot of centered Republicans, I don't think they found Bernie that extreme in 2016. So it just depended on how conservative fiscally you were, whether or not you thought Bernie was an extreme. And here's the crazy part. I understood it. Like my Republican friends who felt like Bernie was an extremist, who were conservative fiscal, I was like, I get it. Like if I were you, I think he was an extremist too.
No, I agree. Yeah. So it would be, it's almost one of those where if you took this guy, it's Bobby Jr. Was Bobby? It was JFK Jr. So yeah, it couldn't be Bobby. So the new Bobby Kennedy, if you took him and we're like, here's the job, he might be good because he's so close to the middle that he has all the people that are close to the middle. Can you win the job if you're close to the middle?
Dude, I'm telling you, I could play sound clips of him depending on what the policy or the position is. And I swear to God, if I just read you the text, you would be, and I said, who said it? You would be like, oh, Trump said that. Or you would be like, oh, like Biden said that. And it's Kennedy Jr. It's that depending on what he is his own person essentially. Like when he is speaking,
God
and he's
forbid.
different. I know, right?
Well, it is. God forbid that you have people like, well, I agree with this side on this. I kind of agree with this side on that. That you just can't do that anymore.
No, it's very.
You're not allowed to say, well, that I'm on this party, but on this issue, I'm kind of on this. I agree with them.
Yeah,
can't say it.
Nuggets Heat, real quick. Anything that you want to say?
The more I watch, the Joker, which is I love it. Don't you? I think it's a great.
It is. This is okay. Not to cut you off. This is the funny thing about Nikola Jokic is like everybody's like, oh, this and that, and the Joker and this and that. And like for people like me, it's like we have been talking about this for 10 years.
I know.
So it is like it's a weird thing where people are like, "Oh, the Joker, it's great," and I'm like, "Yes, we already discussed this.
You already do that. I know.
We already did this."
I have not seen him play because I watch on Christmas Day. It's the only day I watch the NBA during the regular season.
Yeah,
I watch the playoffs. Every time I watch him play, I am impressed. I told people just the way he looks. He's just this big, burly, bald. He looks like he should be swinging a sledgehammer.
I called him Ophi.
Yes, that's what he looks like. He is. He could be cracking cinder blocks with his head, and he has his touch, and it is so good that it just doesn't match the person that he is.
I agree,
but it is incredible how delicate he can be with the basketball in so many elements, passing, shooting. He just looks like a guy that if he didn't dunk it, he wouldn't be able to make it. And then there he is from 6 feet out, and he's just like, "Oop," and it's nothing but net.
Yeah.
It is incredible to me to watch.
Yeah.
And then when he talks, he's just like, it's just like a normal guy.
Yeah.
Like he's not an overly high, it's his first game in the NBA Finals. He plays great. And now there wasn't a lot of drama in the game because they got a big lead. And so I can understand it wasn't a riveting post-game interview. But it's just steady as she goes. Yeah. I've never seen a great athlete that is more steady as she goes in a game that is not steady. It is high flying. It is up and down. It is high drama. It is the agony of defeat, and what is it? The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Do you remember that? Are you old enough to remember Wide World of Sports?
I've heard
the saying. Okay. And then there's him, who's just like, I just had what I have tonight, 27, 14, and 12.
Triple double.
Okay.
I die laughing because he's a 2-time MVP. He's won the MVP the 2 previous seasons, and people will call me or they'll be texting me and they'll be like, "Boy, Jokic is great, isn't he?" And I'm like, "Well, he is.
He has been.
He is a 2-time.
He has been.
He is a 2-time MVP." So
and I think that's great for the NBA because he has to be. Maybe in all of the big sports, right. There's probably never been a 2-time MVP who was less appreciated nationally. Yeah. And not only, we talked about this, I asked you what the odds were on Denver at the beginning of the season or even the beginning of the playoffs, just because there's this understanding of the NBA that no matter how good they are, they're not, no matter when Dikembe's upsetting people in the first round or when Carmelo's there or whatever, Chauncey Billups or whatever they got, Denver doesn't win because they're Denver. And they're not going to get to the NBA Finals and they're not going to win. So how much that not only affected Vegas, but just the psyche of people that yeah, Jokic is great. He's MVP. That's fine. He's not going to win because he's in Denver and Denver doesn't win. And they're not, I don't mean to make them sound like the Detroit Lions because they've had other levels of success, right. But they're the Buffalo Bills, if you will, who can be good, but they're never going to win because they're the Bills. Right. Denver's never going to win because they're Denver. And all of a sudden now it looks like they can't lose. Yeah.
I was going to ask you 2 or 3 other questions, but you ate up our time. Is there anything you would like to say?
You ate up our time.
You ate up our time. We got a meeting. We have to go. Is there anything else you would like to say to the people?
Well, first of all, the meeting will hold for you. You're an important guy.
No, we have to go. We got to have a meeting. I'll give you 10 seconds. Give people your graduation advice. Don't make it longer than 10 seconds.
Oh, I'll give you this.
Ready, go.
So when you get invited to all these graduation parties, and you're just like, how much money do I spend? What'd you have? Oh, are you counting down my advice? $20.23 on the check. And you can just do it. And it just makes it easy because it's the year 2023. And then if you get invited to 10 graduate, it's not like, how do I get? It's not like a wedding present where you're like, what's too cheap and what's too. It's a little bit clever and it's a little bit. And I stole it from a neighbor, but that's what you do. $20.23, and then you won't go to the poorhouse and you won't feel people won't open it and be like, oh, what did you? Oh, they gave $50 and they gave me $100 and they gave me this person. They gave me $20.23, but it works. So there's my graduation advice. Also, Vegas and Florida should be really fun. NHL. You don't even know the NHL Stanley Cup Finals are coming, but they're coming tomorrow.
No one knows.
Vegas.
They actually, if there was ever a year to know, this is the one, because I'm afraid the NBA Finals are going to be very exciting. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. We will be back next week. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. I am not Mark Messina. He is not Jeff.
But I'm just looking to see if my computer is smoking because I'm afraid because I got attacked by something.
It was probably that program.
It was that program that they were coming.
The AI program.
They heard us talking about them.
That's what it was.
I made a Matthew Broderick reference, and here they come. Tic-tac-toe is what we should have told them to play. Have you seen War Games?
I have, but I was young. I was like 18, 19.
That's how they
It's been a
figured
while.
global thermonuclear launch is the game. And that's how they figured it out because they told the computer to play tic-tac-toe. And then the computer figured out that you can't, and they extrapolated it to you can't win, and we're off. Oh, no, we're back. And you can't win at nuclear war. So that's how because, that's how they did it.
Got it.
Now it's just TikTok. But back then it was tic-tac-toe.
What's the equivalent of hanging up the phone on a podcast? Like, what's the equivalent of hanging up the phone on you in podcast terms? Because I can't just hang up the phone on you. What would be the equivalent?
Good question. Because you wanted to hang up for a while now. And I won't shut up.
Thank you guys for watching. You're excited. I'm happy. It's better when you're excited. It's better when you're excited. Do you understand?
I think so.
It is. It is. Thank you guys for watching. NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
Oh, I have the
We'll
answer.
see you guys next week.